Hi, my name is Dr. Felusha and I'm a licensed psychologist. And in today's video, I'm going to briefly go over one of the myths that people who are abuse survivors hear. And that myth is we have to believe the best about other people, right? And so sometimes people hear this advice when they are bringing up something that happened to them, some sort of abuse that they had undergone, whether it was like psychological, emotional, narcissistic abuse, spiritual abuse. And they're told, well, just believe the best about that person. And not only do I find that to be dismissive, it's also inaccurate and it can put you at risk for further harm from others. And so, what I would like for you to do the next time you hear something like that is to ask yourself, well, why should I believe the best about this person? Like, what does believing the best actually mean? And, I think that a part of us always wants to believe the best about people. I think that's actually a protective mechanism sometimes for people who are in vulnerable situations. Like if you think about children that are being abused or people who are just in a situation where they're dependent on their abuser, that can be a survival mechanism. But, when but when you keep hearing believe the best about other people, not everybody deserves to have the best believed about them. What I mean by that is that if you look at someone's way of interacting with you throughout your life, you have to remember that past behavior predicts future behavior, right? And I'm not saying that people can't change. So when I say that, sometimes people get defensive and upset and they're like, well, does that mean that nobody can ever change? No, not at all. I do believe that people can change. But what I am saying is that not everybody deserves has earned the right rather to have the best believed about them. If you look at two people, maybe you have a really good friend and they're an amazing friend too, and then they just stand, you're stood up one day, you're supposed to meet up and they don't show up. In that situation, you probably would believe the best about that person because they have a record of showing up for you, right? You've built and earned trust with one another. And so that's how you would tend to believe the best. And I think that's a smart decision. Why? Because they've earned that right. And they've earned that right through the trust you've built through interactions with one another. Sometimes they'll imagine like you have another friend, maybe, and you're not that great of friends. And, maybe they show up to things, maybe like 20% of the time. Right. And so, if they stand you up, and you're wondering where they are, for you wouldn't, I don't think it would be wise to say, oh, well, they probably didn't mean it, or they'll change. I'm sure we'll hang out the next time. You have to look at the types of interactions you've had with this person. And so if this person just seems to do uncaring things and not care or show any remorse or wanting to change, then I would ask yourself, what is there the best to believe about, right? And so that is something you need to ask yourself. And also, when we think about the types of abuse that we have gone through, right? I cover in this channel spiritual abuse, psychological abuse, narcissistic, emotional abuse, whatever the types of abuse is, I would argue that we tend to already believe the best about that person, right? Think about spiritual abuse, right? If somebody is a leader and they're a spiritual leader, of course you're going to believe the best about them, right? We tend in general to believe the best or have, I would say, assign positive attributes to people in leadership and especially spiritual leadership, right? So we tell ourselves, well, they must have gotten there by being this type of person. So that's how often we start. Oftentimes that's how we start out. And then we also think about, emotional abuse. We tend to we tend to believe the best about those people in situations who are showing unhealthy behavior as well, right? In order for someone to emotionally abuse you, you have to be probably in a close relationship with them or some sort of relationship. And we tend to believe the best about people close to us, right? Which is why, they're in our lives for a reason. So you have to really dig deep and look at the nuance when you're told to believe the best about others. And even people who, if the abuse is coming from like a parent or a family member, we tend often to just by default believe the best about even family, especially, and that's something that is children do, right? So as children grow up, they believe the best about their parents, and it's not anything bad. I don't want you to be ashamed of that. It's actually a survival mechanism. And I talk about that in some of my other videos. And so basically, instead of you believing the best about people, I want you to tell yourself, I choose to believe the truth about this situation. You can hope for the best, even, the people that we think could never change end up doing, but it has to be their choice to do that. And I also want to remind you too, that believing the best about somebody is not only believing the best about everybody, rather it's something you need to really examine how that can put you in harm's way, right? So there's certain people that if you choose to believe the best about them, you're going to remain in that unhealthy or even abusive dynamic, right? Because you'll tell yourself, well, they didn't mean it. They would change if they want to. Things are going to get better. And so that way of thinking in terms of this believing the best is actually keeping you trapped in a situation. It doesn't allow you to see the truth that, you're telling yourself, I'm going to believe the best about this person, but then they're not showing any signs that, or they're showing very few signs that the best is to be believed about them. And so I want you to think about not only why you need to choose who you believe the best about wisely, but also the kind of harm that it can cause. And it can cause you to either pursue something or stay in something that's just not healthy for you. And so I really want you to just steel yourself, because there are people that will come for you because you don't believe the best about people, and they'll make it seem like you're a bad person and you should be ashamed and all this other stuff. And, people can think whatever they want, but in the end, you have to do what's best for yourself, not doing things to please other people or to look like you're a good person. And so in that case, I would just remind you that instead of telling yourself, believe the best, you can always hope for the best, but you don't have to believe the best. You choose to believe the truth, right? I think about some of the anti-bullying advice that I've heard, which is, some of it may be good, but one thing I have heard is people will say, well, just believe the best about your bully, right? And that is not helpful at all. If you think about somebody who is being bullied and they believe the best about their bully, that might cause them to try and be their friend, curry favor with them, all these other sorts of things that are just not helpful and not and could put the person even in harm's way. So you can tell people, you know what, believe the truth about the situation. You hope for the best that this person changes, but you don't have to just believe the best just because. All right. So I hope that helps. If you'd like to see me for a consultation, book your free consultation on skillsetcounseling.com. And I hope to hear from you in the comment section to let me know how you navigate this believing the best situation and things that you've done that you feel like have helped you and advice that you can give to others. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day that's filled with peace. Bye-bye.